just by taking the course and learning through other coaches, the weight started coming off and light bulbs were going off like, oh.
Today, everybody, I'm so excited. I am here with one of my best friends of all time and an amazing coach at Hybrid Fitness, Beth. I was on the phone today with Beth, and I said, Beth, I really, really want to interview you and get you on Zoom because even though Beth has shared her story quite a bit with a lot of people, I can never be told enough. She's had quite the transformation, and to see where she's gone from previously to where she is now is really inspirational, especially for all of you moms out there who are over 40, and you don't even need to be over 40. Beth has some pretty unique obstacles, hurdles that she had to overcome, and not to say that she still doesn't deal with any obstacles or hurdles, but she's had some big ones that she's crushed and used to her advantage to get to where she is today. So with that, everybody, Beth. Woo!
What's up?
What's going on, Beth?
What's up?
Oh, not much. So, all right. So, did I miss anything? Is there anything that you would like to? Could you give a little introduction of yourself? Tell people about who you are.
All right. In a little nutshell.
A little nutshell, yeah.
My name's Beth. Obviously, I'm 47. I'm going to be 48 in December. Let's see, I'm a recovering alcoholic. I just turned 5 years sober in August. I'm a coach at Hybrid Fitness. And yeah, that's me. I'm a mom and a wife.
You were 1 year sober.
Yeah.
And you had made some changes previous to coming to Hybrid Fitness. What were some of those first steps that you took in the first place to get your health and fitness journey started?
Well, what did I start?
Yeah.
I guess I was my friend Allison, we were just running all the time. So I think, I don't know if I even did my first half marathon at that point. I was still like a beginner runner doing lots of 5Ks, and me and Allison were just working out at the Y doing random workouts.
Yeah.
And then now she got a job in Augusta. That's what happened. And my workout partner was gone basically. So and I was like, what am I going to do? And then Hybrid came along.
Gotcha. Okay. So you committed to getting sober. You started running with Allison as your workout partner. And that was going really well, but then she got a job. And then so now you were out of a workout partner and needed something to replace that. Okay. Yeah. Gotcha. So great. And when you first got started with Allison, what was the hardest part about it, getting started, going from not doing a lot?
I think the hardest part was the fact that I had to get up at 4:30, 5 o'clock in the morning and do it before my husband went to work, or else if I didn't, I wouldn't get it in.
Dang. Okay.
So that was the hardest part, was making sure that I had every day woke up at really early, or else I had Johnny.
Yeah. So you had to get up at that time. So like one thing we both hear from a lot of moms is like, how do you, they would probably ask you this, like, Beth, how do you find the motivation? How did you find the motivation to get up that early?
I think it was what at the time was helping me keep me sober. And it was basically like my lifeline. It was my time. The only time for me. And I needed that. Like, I think a lot of us as moms, we put ourselves on the back burner, and I had to take care of myself, or else I wouldn't be able to take care of anybody else. Mm-hmm. It came down to that.
Okay. Gotcha. So it was going to help you stay away from going back to alcohol, and also just give time to yourself. So when you joined Hybrid Fitness 1 year out, and it was a little bit different than what you'd done before. So how was it different?
Well, it was usually just me and Allison. So it was more of a group setting this time, which was different. I don't think I've ever done many group classes, but it was super fun and I loved it and met a lot of cool people through coming to Hybrid Fitness. That still, obviously 4 years later, know today.
Because previously to like having Johnny and everything, like you were a workhorse, right? I mean,
Yeah.
who you are today and who you were in your, 20s, even maybe early 30s, is completely different than who you are. How would you look at yourself previously? I mean, you were working how many hours a week? Like in a whole different.
I had like 3 jobs. Let's see. I mean, I was a fashion designer in LA, so I was bartending all night till 2 a.m. and then making clothes when I got home from work at 2 a.m. and then till like the middle of the day. Then I'd sleep a couple hours and do it all over again. So, I mean, I was constantly working.
Wow. Yeah.
Yeah.
So you
went from sorry. Went from workhorse to stay at home mom. It was a big transition.
Yeah. Yeah. See, I work with a few people who have also made that transition, and in that transition, it's almost a complete shift in their identity.
Mm-hmm.
You think of yourself as maybe somebody who has complete control of their life and is doing things like on the career end, and like that is who you are. And then when you sometimes have to give all that up so you can take care of a son or a daughter, it calls for finding again, like, who am I? You get on that track for 5-10 years, and then after it you're like, oh man, like I feel like I'm not who I once was. And it can be a good thing or a bad thing.
It's true.
So, all right. So now let's move into, along the way, I remember we were sitting at a team meeting. I don't know if you were still an admin at this point or if you were a coach. But I remember you were struggling with your weight, I believe. And you were like, my hormones are all jacked up. Like, I need to go get tested. I need to go figure this out. And I'm just sitting there in the team meeting. I'm like, oh man, I hope she figures it out. And so talk me through that.
So I think this is like before I got certified in nutrition and really kind of understood the whole calorie deficit thing.
Yeah.
So I was one of those like do cardio, workout all the time, but not look at what I was eating and be like, I don't understand. Like, why is nothing happening? And I'm like, it's because I'm 42. That's why. Right. So like, it must be my thyroid. It must be my hormones. I must be low on progesterone. Something is wrong. So I literally got tested. I even did like a spit test. My thyroid was fine. My hormone progesterone was a little low, but it was like no big deal. Mm-hmm. So they're like, there's nothing wrong. And I was like, what do you want that? Like, want them to say there's something wrong. So let's give you this pill and make everything better. But that didn't happen.
So when you figured out that nothing was wrong, what was your next course of action?
I was like, okay. And then the more I went to classes, the more I started listening to other women talk about how they don't understand why they're not losing weight either. And I'm like, I'm the same way. So that kind of got me into, okay, I'm going to get certified in nutrition, and I'm going to learn about this, and I'm going to see what's going on here.
Mm-hmm. Cool.
So just by taking the course and learning through other coaches, and doing actually through my coursework, going into a calorie deficit, weighing and measuring my food, the weight started coming off, and light bulbs were going off like, I was actually eating too much.
Mm-hmm. So at the end of the day, you were just not in a calorie deficit.
No.
Yeah. Okay. Gotcha. So for those of you who may be in a similar situation as Beth, which is a lot of people, yes, you can have issues with your thyroid. You can have hormone problems for sure, and you can go get those tested. But here's the thing, whether you have an issue or not, you're going to still have to find yourself and put yourself into a calorie deficit to lose weight. Even if you have a thyroid issue, you're going to get medication, you're going to adjust to it. That doesn't mean or give you an excuse to just like eat a bunch of food because it doesn't matter. Like, you're still going to have to find a way to get yourself in a calorie deficit. So the steps are the same. Lower your portions, see the results, go get a test if you're really worried about it. And if they come back, then you'll know what you have to do. And yeah, that's really it. Now, that's not to say that your metabolism can't slow down a little bit as you get older. But it's not always the reasons we think. Beth, talk to me a little bit there.
Yeah, it's how do we want to go about this? It's like, it's so simple, right? But it's so difficult. We make it harder than it is because you think like it has to be more than eating less food. There must be something else. Mm-hmm. But it really comes down to getting into that calorie deficit and really actually looking at your portions and not, thinking you need to do cardio and all this working out for the food that you ate. I think that was another thing that was a different mind shift for me too, was like thinking that I needed to exercise it off when that actually I was exercising, but not paying my attention to my nutrition and nothing was happening. It's really about focusing on nutrient dense foods, eating a little bit less, and strength training.
Okay. Yeah. So it's hard because it's so simple. The answer is extremely simple. And you're like, it can't be a calorie deficit. There's no way. But it is. And
right.
I fall into that habit too of, okay, like if I just run for a long time, or if I just do cardio for a while, I can burn off the calories that I ate. At the end of the day, that's not sustainable. And it's really hard, especially if you're a mom over 40 who doesn't have a lot of time, who doesn't have a lot of free time, because if you go for a run, how many calories do you think you burn, Beth? Like the average person for an hour, if you ran for 1 hour?
It's not as much as you think. It's like 100 calories, maybe.
Running for an hour.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
I don't know. It's not a lot. Yeah. I think, what do they say? Like 100, maybe it's 100 calories for every mile or something.
Yeah, for every mile. I was going to say 100 calories for an hour.
Yeah.
So I don't know. It's probably like 400 or 500 calories. How long does it take to eat 500 calories?
Like a meal,
yeah. Yeah. I don't know. Oh, I could eat that in like 10 minutes, and that's 1,200 calories. So it's just not an efficient way if you don't have a lot of time exercising, not the way. The exercising will make it easier, but do it in amounts of time that will be sustainable and work for you. So, okay, so you overcome that. You went, your test came back. You said, hey, you're good. Then you took your nutrition course and learned about calorie deficit and put yourself in calorie deficit. And ever since then, you've strength trained and been viciously consistent in your nutrition.
Yeah.
So now.
And
Oh, yeah, go for it.
I was just going to say the consistency thing is huge. It's like keeping going. And there's, I have my ups and downs, my frustrations, but I just keep doing it. You just keep doing it, and it works. And it's like, I'm 4 years in now, and I'm just now seeing my body to where I really want it to be, but it's taken consistency of different phases of time.
Tell me about what you do when you have a meal that you feel like is not going to help you towards your goals. What goes through your mind at that point? How do you think about that situation?
Now it's like I'm conscious about my meals. And I consciously like, okay, I'm going to have a drumstick. No big deal. Working in my day. Those drumsticks? I'm like, I have one like every night right now. Like the chocolate sugar cone with the fudge in the middle. Mm-hmm. So, but before I would have been like, oh my God, I can't have one of those. But now I know that I've accounted for it in my day. I can eat that and it's not going to make or break me. Mm-hmm. I kind of like work my meals around the foods I love, or if I know I'm going to go out to eat, I'll eat more vegetables through the day, morning, and save my calories for the dinner. And then, don't even think twice about it the next day.
Awesome.
That's huge because that never used to be the case.
Right. And what was the case previously?
I would try to run it off.
Yeah. Yeah. And what if you didn't get your run in? How would you think about that mentally?
I'd probably like restrict myself.
Yeah. Yeah. So we talk about this a lot, and I think it goes hand in hand with what you just said, is, all right, like eating a bunch of foods that you don't feel like fit into your goals. And then, all right, you might not get the exercise in because you don't have the time. So, okay, I need to restrict. But when you restrict that hard, it eventually leads to you binging or going ham later. And so although you feel like you're, for most of the time, you're eating the right amount of calories, you actually aren't, because in that binge, people highly underestimate what they're actually eating. And unless you're tracking your calories, there's no way to actually know.
Yeah.
And there's some study out there that says that was through the precision nutrition certification, that people, can underestimate their calories by up to like 40%.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Finding that you're in that same situation where you eat something that doesn't fit your goals, and then you restrict, and you feel like you're on track most of the time, but you're still not seeing the progress you want. I would suggest, and I know Beth is right there with me here, keep a food diary. Just do it for 1 week. Don't try and change anything. Focus on weighing your food and punching it all into an app like MyFitnessPal. And when you do that, it will open your eyes a little bit. You're going to have a little bit more awareness around how much calories is actually in the food you're eating, and it will probably surprise you. And also be really motivating, because when you see the truth and you finally understand that you have been eating too many calories, it gives you the power back. It makes you feel like, okay, I know where to go from here. Just like when Beth went to the doctors and was told like, hey, there's nothing wrong with you. At this point now, she didn't feel as helpless. She realized, oh, okay, I'm actually in control. and when you feel in control and you have control, you can make the changes to get the results. Okay, so gotcha. So so that's where you used to be in your mindset. What are some things now, because you work with a number of women through our gym and through also your online coaching with the nutrition, what are some of the biggest questions that you get, or areas that you feel like moms or women over 40 tend to get off track?
I think a lot of us, like I said, like we're looking for something quick. That's what I'm finding. Like, there must be some other way, and also the learning curve that comes with like tracking your calories. And actually we have to do the work and learn, and that takes some time, and it can be frustrating. So I feel like we tend to want to give up quicker because it's too hard. When actually, everything that we try to learn or get, when it's new to us, it seems hard, but it's really not. So we get frustrated and don't want to do it.
What do you find for you was the hardest part when you were getting started with the nutrition end of things?
I think, just like figuring out MyFitnessPal, and, you're not perfect. Like I wasn't perfect in the beginning, and you want to be perfect. And then, it took a while to be like, oh, I'm not going to add that extra handful of goldfish on there. Like it didn't happen. But then you come to a realization like, okay, that did happen. You have to be honest with yourself. And I think there's a light bulb at some point that went off that I was like, okay, nothing's going to change if I'm not honest. So let's just do this.
So being honest with yourself. And tell me like more about that, being honest with yourself. What does that mean?
Coming to terms with you're actually eating too much. And it's almost like recording every nip and nibble is like a reality check, and you don't want it to be real. You're like, oh, okay. You don't realize, like we all, like the moms that have kids will finish their chicken nuggets or their goldfish, or you don't want to throw their food out. So I've noticed I was, taking Johnny's food and eating it so I wouldn't waste it. But then you actually have to be like, okay, well that counts. Right? That actually has calories, but it takes a little while to really figure that out, that you're like, okay, I have to record that too.
Yeah.
And
all those little pieces add up.
Yeah. The liquids, even the olive oils, like, I wasn't tracking olive oils or butters.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
And then at that one point, I was like, why isn't anything happening? I had Jordan inside was really helping me with that. And he's like, well, are you counting the oils, every single thing that you're putting in your mouth? I'm like, I guess not the butter, not the olive oil, maybe not the kombucha. I mean, and then you don't realize that every little thing counts.
Yeah. So
it's like a slap in the face.
You have that expectation to be perfect, and it's hard not to be.
Yeah.
I see that a lot in a lot of women who they think if they are not perfect, they're not going to lose weight or they're not going to see results. But that kind of starts that cycle we talked about. You have this expectation of, if I'm not perfect, I'm going to gain weight or I'm not going to lose weight. And so as soon as you break what you consider is perfect, then it's like, well, screw it. Like, no, I'm just going to go off because I already went off. And then like 5 days later, you've just not, followed anything that you were going towards. And then you're like, okay, time to get back on track.
Yeah.
And then
it's like you're delaying your own weight loss.
Yeah.
By doing that. It's like, because it's a constant cycle, and then you're having to start at square one when you could just continue where you left off and keep going. And that's, I think, the biggest thing I learned.
So if you can just, if you can shorten the amount of times that you have to get back on track, shorten that distance, you'll just be more consistent. That's literally the definition.
Yeah.
But it goes to show, like, Beth is not perfect. She just gets back on the ball quicker.
And then I think another thing is like treating the weekends like the weekdays. Like you should be still eating the foods that you want on the weekends and fitting them in the weekday, so you don't completely binge on the weekend. And that's another thing that I learned. I think though sometimes people's weekends take over, and then it makes their whole week that they were just good. Like starting over on Monday. Like we shouldn't have to start over on Monday. Like you said, like we're only one meal away from being back on track. So your weekend should be planned like your weekdays.
Awesome. I love that. What other struggles do you find a lot of women go through?
I think like calling foods good or bad. I know it's a huge thing. And even I used to do that, or actually more like talking to themselves. Like I was bad. I was bad because I had a piece of cake. No, you're just a person that had a piece of cake. You can actually have a piece of cake that's 500 calories and have a salad that's 500 calories. They're still the same.
Right.
Calorie wise. Obviously nutrients are different, but I think we're really hard on ourselves, and we need to stop shaming ourselves for eating foods that are fun.
Yeah, Beth. I mean, you had like you had cake, like you're bad. Like it doesn't make you a good or a bad person.
Right.
Yeah. I made a post on this the other day. But all right, so let's say Beth is your best friend, right? Beth is one of my best friends. If Beth and I went out to eat, and I knew that her goals were, to, I don't know, let's say she wanted to get up on stage and do like a physique competition, right? If she had a piece of cake, I probably wouldn't be like, Beth, you suck. Like, wow, you're a pretty terrible human. I don't know if I want to be friends with you anymore. When I look at you, I'm disgusted. Like I would never say that, but that's what we say to ourselves. So I like to say, treat yourself as if you were your friend. I'd say, if you were if you're like, oh man, Hunter, I was getting ready for this competition. I had this cake. It was so good, kind of worth it, but I don't want to let me hurt the results. What would you say? You would say, Beth, hey, it's all good. Like, you enjoyed it.
Yeah.
Like, one piece of cake's not going to kill you. Like, we're going to go hit a great workout, and you're just, you're just the rest of your meals are going to be fine. Don't worry about it. So talk to yourself like that. Don't talk to yourself like the first version.
Yeah. And I think when people do that, they bring so much shame to it that it's like a spiral.
Yeah.
It really, it affects, like, our mental health is so much related to how we treat ourselves with food or eat and stuff. Like, I think it's all connected. We need to be kinder to ourselves and not call ourselves names.
Yeah. Yeah. Some people, I feel like, use exercise as a punishment too. Like, something bad, and then just go in and like go balls to the wall in your workout. and like punish yourself. Have you seen that before?
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
And I've done it. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's not a bad thing, but
it defeats the purpose.
Yeah. It's like, anyways, what else do we see?
Yeah.
So we see that people struggle with.
I think it's just like perfectionism, like shaming ourselves. I see that a lot, and just our weekends. Not saying that we don't have time, I think is huge. And I hate to say it, but we do have time. I mean, not to get Goggins on everyone, but there's like 24 hours in a day, right? Most of us work the normal person works 8 to 9, maybe 12 hours, right? And then you have kids, but if you really want it, if it's a priority, you'll make time. And the only reason I know that is because I was that person that was like, okay, I have to get up at 4:30 or 5 o'clock in the morning, or else I'm not going to get it done. This is important to me. This is life or death. And you do it.
I love if you have an iPhone, and I'm sure you can get this if you have an Android, there's a spot on your phone that'll actually tell you how much screen time you have on average per day.
Mm-hmm.
You can probably go on there and you can find some extra time. You don't need an hour.
Right.
Like if you can just go walk for 20 minutes and you committed to walking 20 minutes a day, you'll burn some calories, right? But we already talked about, we don't exercise to necessarily burn calories. It will help 100%. But when you walk for 20 minutes, you're going to feel good. And you're much less likely to come inside and have something that's not as good for your health or good for your goals after you do a 20-minute walk.
Mm-hmm.
It will build momentum. It's super simple. You don't need equipment. You don't need a coach. You don't need to go anywhere. You just step outside.
Yeah.
You definitely have time. I think people underestimate. They think they have to do way more than they actually do. And it goes back to that simplicity. Like it's so stupidly simple. And when I first started as a coach, there's so many different methods and plans you can do. And you're like, oh, like as a coach, you're like, this is great. But the more and more that I've coached and worked with people, I realize it's just you don't have to have all that stuff. Like it's all flashy, but it's stupidly simple. And it's probably something you already know.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. And it creates that momentum. Like you said, like if you get up and if you walk 10 minutes, then you might want to walk 20 minutes the next day. And then you feel, before that you're like, oh, I'm so tired. But actually, if you start walking every day, it revitalizes you. You actually get more energy from movement. You only do need like 20 to 30 minutes.
Yeah. And
that's it.
And not to mention just like the walking, like what that does for your posture, what that does if you have some aches and pains. Walking is like one of the best cures to a lot of things.
Yeah.
Like it's amazing. But okay, so we talked about that. Man, I mean, we hit a lot of things. What's a myth, Beth? Give me a myth. Let's bust some myths.
Carbs make you fat.
I was gonna say, do a live TikTok video right now. Let's do one. I want to see it filmed.
My yup nopes.
Yup.
Nope. Let's see. That fruit makes you fat. That's a myth. Carbs make you fat.
Why don't carbs make you fat? Because Beth, I heard that when you eat carbs, it makes your insulin levels higher, and then therefore you store more fat.
Yeah, it's just calories.
Oh.
Yeah, that's another one. I mean, obviously there's some people that are more, and they're not the norm, but most people, think that carbs, I don't know, where did that come from? Like, and I think I've even thought that before, but
there's some truth to it, but it's like this. It's like if I take like a fat burner or like a thermogenic supplement, right? Or or if I just have caffeine, it's going to like speed up my metabolism in theory, but it's so minor. It's like the 5%. It will help you, but like there's no point in doing that if you don't do focus on calorie deficit. That's like the 80 to 85%. It's so minimal that you won't notice it. So Yes, like you can time your foods and try and like manage your insulin levels, and everybody's different, but it's gonna, like, if you do that, it's gonna have such a little effect on you. I mean, there's certain cases, like you said, that like for example, like a lot of women with PCOS, like they struggle with higher carb diets. Like sometimes doing something closer to a ketogenic diet will help them. But that's like a specific medical condition that, by the way, I'm not a nutritionist or a doctor. This is just general information that I read somewhere from a credible source, but I'm not diagnosing them. So anyways.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So carbs don't make you fat. Sugar doesn't make you fat. Or no, what was it? Well, sugar, is a carb.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and most sugar items contain fats, and they're just very palatable to our taste buds. It's like the whole like sugar addiction, it's just people can't stop. Palatable fat, and they forget that actually that has the fat in it too, and the carbs, so it's all connected. That's another thing, like people like restricting themselves from foods that they love and only to binge on them later because they've restricted themselves.
Okay.
Like I'm never going to cut sugar out of my life for good. Well, a lot of things have sugar, tomato sauce, for example. I think even ketchup has sugar. So, I mean, it's literally in everything. I think that's another thing. And I think you even talked about that. And I've been reading a lot about that, how to break the sugar addiction is actually to allow yourself a serving size. Let's say Halloween's coming up, right? So let's buy a bag of Halloween candy, allow yourself one candy a day until Halloween. And I guarantee you're not going to binge on Halloween candy when the day comes.
100%. When I had Dairy Queen every day for 30 days, I didn't crave shit. I didn't crave anything. And I still lost weight because I tracked my calories. I mean, it was really amazing. I didn't crave anything, and it made the weight loss, like, yes, it was a little extra work because I was tracking my food and I wanted to make sure I got enough protein, but without it, like when I stopped tracking my food and stopped eating Dairy Queen, I was like, I'm going to see like how I do just kind of winging it without tracking. Can I continue to lose weight? And it was actually harder to do that. I found really quick I lost structure, and I started like craving food again, or craving like sweet stuff again, because now I wasn't like making myself have it every day. So if you want to stop craving sugar, then eat it. Just eat it in the right amounts and eat something
don't deny
good. Yeah.
Don't deny yourself.
And don't it's all in the serving. Like actually have something good. Like for example, if you have like a healthy peanut butter cup that's like so-so, or like let's say you had the Halo Top ice cream. Like I had some peanut butter Halo Top the other day, and it tasted like cardboard. Like screw that. Like have the good thing and just portion it out so you enjoy it. And that will help with your cravings a lot.
Yeah, I noticed that when I was eating the drumsticks nightly, and the only reason I did that is because they were in the freezer and Mike and Johnny loved them. And I was like, okay, I'm gonna have them. And I was like having them every day. And then it wasn't like oh my God, I want one anymore. Now I'm like, I can, or I don't need to.
Yeah.
It's interesting.
It is. So going away from the myths now, let's talk about some tactics that people can use to make eating healthy and for their goals better. So let's say I am Sally and I want to lose 15 pounds and I know nothing about nutrition. What would you tell me to focus on right away? What was like the first thing you would tell me? Or like,
well, maybe I might have you download my Fitness Pal and just track. And don't pay attention to calories, just track. And that almost kind of gives you awareness of portions, just learning the app. Cause that takes some time, start off there and just simple, like start with one thing, like maybe like add more veggies to each of your meals, just to start, and then go from there and not worry about anything else.
Okay. Awesome. So I'm just going to track and I'm going to add more veggies into my diet. Awesome.
Yep.
So let's say that. So I go through, it's been 2 weeks and I've been tracking and I've been adding more vegetables and I've done a really good job at being consistent with that. What would you tell me to do next?
I probably then would, figure out your calorie deficit. I would have you set that in my MyFitnessPal, and then along with protein, I would have you concentrate on protein and calories and just work on that. But I want you to master like the vegetables, like master one thing at a time. So you're not like,
gotcha.
So many things at once.
So 2 weeks in, I'd want to master getting more vegetables in. What would you consider a good amount of vegetables?
I would try to get fill half your plate with veggies.
Okay.
For each meal.
Okay.
Try to anyway. I mean, it's hard for breakfast. Just try to,
So 2 to 3 meals a day. So I'm going to fill my plate with veggies and I'm going to track my food for 2 weeks. Then at the 4-week mark, it would be good to start incorporating some protein, which I probably was already eating protein, and then also eating at a certain calorie level, which would be my calorie deficit. Tell me, where would you start me off with my protein? And I know it can, let's say for me, let's say I'm Sally and I'm 150 pounds. Where would you want me to start with my protein?
I would say times your goal weight, times 0.8 to 1. I like 1. Shoot for the high because you most likely probably won't hit it. Most people don't eat enough protein, but I like to shoot high. So they try to get to that amount.
Okay.
Because it's going to keep you full.
Gotcha.
When you're in, yeah.
So I was 150. I wanted to lose 15. So my goal weight would be 135. So I'd multiply that by 1. So I'd want to eat 135 grams of protein. I'd want to have half my plate in vegetables 2 to 3 times a day, and consistently tracking and eating in a calorie deficit.
Yeah.
Sweet. Is there anything else after that?
Keep going.
That's the thing. It's like those 4 things, and like obviously adding in some consistent exercise is great.
Yeah.
But there are not a lot of steps to being successful. It is 100% consistency. If you are just consistent in your protein, in your calorie intake for a deficit, and you don't stop, then you will see the results that you want. I promise you. Because protein is filling, it's going to help you not eat as many calories anyways. So when you get more protein, makes being in a calorie deficit easier. Also, vegetables, same thing. Vegetables take up a ton of space in your stomach, lots of that good fiber, and like 0 calories. Not really. There's calories in vegetables. You still got to track them. But there's just above 0. You do those 2 things, you're going to be full, satisfied, and then as long as you eat your daily Dairy Queen every day, you're awesome. Is there any additional things that you can think of that you want to bring up before we end here?
No, I just think people just need to keep going and stop saying they're starting over when you don't have to start over. You just keep going. Just pick up where you left off.
Yeah.
Stop the starting over talk.
Is there anything right now that you're going through, or like any struggles that you're having that I could be of helpfulness with?
How do I even start? And I think as coaches, we want to like help everyone.
Yeah.
And that if we're not able to, we're like really hard on ourselves. I get like that a lot because I'm sure you do too. Yeah.
So you're saying, if we're working with somebody, we're trying to help them, and then they aren't seeing the results, or maybe they aren't following through. It's just very hard to accept that like we can't do things for them.
Yeah.
Is that kind of it?
That's the hardest thing I think about being a coach, and I'm still learning all that, is that we can't help everyone, but you want to help everyone, but you have to be okay with not being able to help everyone. It's
one thing that's helped me with this is that we have an idea in our mind of what every single person wants from our coaching, and we'll go through and do assessments or interview them before to try and figure out what they really want from this. but it doesn't always pick up what they truly want. Sometimes somebody just checking in on you is worth the value, even if they didn't lose the weight. Just knowing that somebody cares, because they might be missing that from their lives. That's really surprised me. So it's kind of like what we would say to our weight loss clients, right? Is just keep going. It's kind of that same thing. Is like, just keep going. They appreciate the care and the love that you're giving them, and they understand. And they definitely want to lose weight, but sometimes it is hard. And so all we can do is just keep going, giving our best, and understand, like, yes, we can't do it for them. But sometimes they're not ready for the weight loss, even though they signed up for it. Sometimes they're ready for them. When we talk about, are we weight loss coaches? Are we therapists? We're definitely not therapists. But we can be friends in a way, especially like in the one-on-one coaching space. So, I feel you 100% there, because all we want is to have our people succeed, and it will keep us up at night. I think that's all I have there.
Okay.
I don't know if that helps.
It does.
Yeah.
It does. Yeah.
Anything. All right, Beth. Hey, really quick, where can people find you? If they want to see your tips, your tricks, your personality, because man, you are one of a kind, Beth, I must say.
Well, you can find me on Instagram, Beth Feraco Fitness, or TikTok, Beth Feraco Fitness, and Facebook, Beth Wilkas Feraco.
Yeah, go check out her stuff. Beth is
I'm on the TikTok train.
She's on the TikTok train. She has a great combination of very helpful tactics and entertainment and personality. So she combines the two to make it fun. Guys, thank you so much for watching this video. If you did find some value out of this, please consider hitting the subscribe button, hit the like button, share this with your friends if this is going to help them in some way.